William Lee, the chief economist at the Milken Institute. William, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi, Sean.
A drop in GDP in the U.S. for the first time. The economy has shrunk since the pandemic. Now, is this a time for concern, or do you see it more as a blip?
I think the people who are dismissing the warning signs from this report are a bit complacent and ignoring some real dangers out there. Number one, yes, a lot of the drag is coming from the import surge and the stocking of inventories that went on last quarter is no longer going on because supply constraints are preventing car companies from getting the kind of car inventories back up to where they want. But the danger signs for me is in consumption, which everyone pointed to as being so strong. The only reason why it was strong was because people want to buy more cars and consumer durables because, quite frankly, the price of gas is driving them toward more energy efficient cars. And number two, the surge in non-durable consumption is coming from healthcare, which is what people have been delaying because of COVID. So it's catch-up spending in healthcare and car purchases that are driving the bulk of consumer purchases right now.
A couple of words really jumped out at me: complacent and danger. And I think if you talk to many economic forecasters right now, inflation remains such a huge concern, both here at home and abroad.
Absolutely, and it's inflation that the Fed has to get its credibility back. After the last FOMC meeting, the financial markets sort of said we lost it. We don't believe that you will be able to bring us back to 2% inflation in the next 5 years. And right now, the Fed is going to have to front load a lot of policy tightening in order to regain the credibility that Paul Volcker had built for them decades ago. And so going forward, my fear is that the Fed will not use the two policy tools it's got judiciously. Number one, it has the balance sheet, which is a very new policy tool. It can drain liquidity from the red-hot housing market, red-hot car and consumer demand durable market, and at the same time use rates to essentially slow down the rest of the economy, but at a moderate level. So it can moderate the pace of rate increases while at the same time using the balance sheet to drain liquidity and really cut down on that red-hot real estate sector and the red-hot car sector.
Let's dive a little deeper into how Joe Biden's administration is doing. How do you think it's doing in the effort to corral inflation? And there's a good argument that investors are extremely wary right now of where the U.S. is.
Unfortunately, I wish I could say that he was doing a great job, but the real source of problems for every consumer out there, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Smith out there, is worried about the cost of food and the cost of gasoline and energy. Well, President Biden's policies of stopping the Keystone Pipeline and stopping drilling has really done a lot to limit the supply of oil that's available for American citizens. And the war in Ukraine is out of his control, but certainly our policies are not helping to get that war done and over with. And the supply chains that are broken will remain broken for a much more prolonged period of time than ever we thought before.
Let's get back to the Fed for just a second, because it has more than tipped its hand. A rate hike is coming, and perhaps as much as 50 basis points coming up later in May. At what point does the rise in interest rates really have a chilling effect on the purchase of houses and automobiles?
We're already starting to see the housing market slow down. We no longer have these huge bidding wars of 10, 20 offers for every house that's put on the market. 5.25% mortgage rates are significant. Of course, people are smart enough to go into adjustable rate mortgages and try to contain the amount of rate increases that they're going to see. But nevertheless, we are going to see the housing market cool off probably in the next 6 to 9 months, and the red-hot market for cars and consumer durables will slow down along with it if the Fed is smart enough to use the balance sheet to drain that excess liquidity. People are getting funds and getting loans way too easily right now.
Okay, let's expand our horizons, because more GDP numbers are coming out tomorrow, including Germany. Will we see a drag in Germany's GDP associated with the Russian fighting in Ukraine?
Oh, Sean, you hit it right on the nose. That's my main concern, is the rest of the world is slowing down along with the U.S. There is no locomotive for growth out there, not even China. So in that sense, because the Europeans are so much more dependent upon Russian gas and Russian supplies of energy, I mean, as bad as our energy problems are, theirs are multiples of ours. And so, yes, the Germans and the Europeans in general are facing a very severe slowdown.
Okay, you got 30 seconds. Tell me, does the U.S. economy continue to grow, and how will the threat of a recession perhaps drag this down?
Sean, believe it or not, I'm very optimistic, because the one offset we haven't mentioned is investment. If business investment can continue to apply new productivity enhancing investments, we are going to be able to beat the inflation problem by improving worker productivity. That'll give higher real wages and lower price at the same time. Key is, will companies invest? And that we don't know.